Oh, hey, I'm looking for new stories. Come on. Where do story ideas come from? This is a really good question. Now, if you were here at my apprenticeship in Cambridge, we talk about several techniques. I'd give you some exercises that you could do to come up with new stories. But no matter how many techniques I gave you, and we could probably come up with 100 different ways, it all boils down to one thing. Great story ideas come from a deep well. Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The stuff that's creatively coming out of you is a direct result of what you are putting into you. So if you're having trouble coming up with new story ideas, there's a good chance that that's because you're not filling yourself with very good stuff. If all of your story ideas kind of sound the same and you struggle to be different and original and creative, well, I have a question for you. Are you filling yourself with all the same kind of stuff? Do you read things that you wouldn't necessarily pick out for yourself? Do you ever watch a movie for which you're not necessarily the target audience? Do you ever watch a TV show just because a friend or family member likes it, even if it's not really your thing? Do you ever research things just for the sake of curiosity, just to learn, not necessarily because it's your favorite subject? This is the kind of thing that deepens your well. This is how you enrich your experience so that when you need a story idea, you have something worthwhile to pull from. You know, one of the pitfalls of internet culture is that it has led us to stop learning deeply. You know, the fact is that if I need to know, say, the population of Mozambique, I can have that information in 3 seconds on my phone. And because I have that constant access to whatever deep factoid I want, there's no longer a great necessity for me just to become well-read, just to learn things for the sake of learning in case I might need to know them in the future. For writers, this is bad news. And one of the ways that we can deepen our well is by intentionally being curious about the world, by learning. There are a number of great resources for that. A couple of my favorites are Quora. So Quora is a site where people can ask questions about anything they want, and oftentimes people with real expertise will answer those questions. So for a number of years, I was subscribed to their board about spy stuff. So every day, practically, I would get an email where people had asked questions about spy technology and spy techniques and things like that. I actually had to unsubscribe because I would waste so much time when I got these emails just diving into this stuff and deeply learning about things that really didn't have any relevance or importance to me, but just for the sake of curiosity. So whatever topics you might have some interest in, you can sign up, you can get information about that, and just pursue that for the sake of being curious. I also like Wikipedia. You might not know this, but you can go to wikipedia.org and there's a new homepage every single day where they just feature articles that I suppose are chosen by some kind of editor. But, you know, typically we use Wikipedia because we're curious about some fact, and so we Google it and it leads us to Wikipedia to find it. But you can go to wikipedia.org and just read about things that you have no previous interest in. You can just broaden your perspective on the world. You can learn about subjects that you didn't even know existed before you got to the page that day. When you do that, become a link clicker. Don't just settle for the first article that you find, but go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, learning about things that you're discovering for the first time. Not because they solve a problem for you, not because you necessarily need that information for the story that you're writing right now, but just because you want to broaden your knowledge about this wonderful universe that God has created. Now, the next one might seem obvious, but you'd be surprised of the growing trend of young writers who do not read. So, how can you broaden your perspective? You can do so by reading books. You can read new books, you can read old books, you can read books that you love, you can read books that you hate. It doesn't matter, just keep reading, keep ingesting words. Here's a great quote from C.S. Lewis. It is a good rule after reading a new book, never to allow yourself another new one till you have read an old one in between. If that is too much for you, you should at least read one old book to every 3 new ones. That's great advice. But don't stop there. Read books that are meant for children. Read books that are clearly marketed to the opposite gender. Just get yourself exposed to new stuff. Read things that are on the New York Times bestseller list and ask the question, why is this here? Why has this become popular? Why is this interesting to the world? Read books that you know are self-published and aren't very good. Read books that don't do very well and ask yourself some of the same questions. What is going on with this particular book? And in an adaptation of this, my 4th tip for broadening and deepening your well is go to the library. Now, of course, at the library, you can check out books, but here's another exercise that I feel is really helpful and really nice. Go to the library, go to any section of nonfiction. Pick the first book off the shelf that looks even remotely interesting, take it over to a chair, open it up, and just start reading. You can start reading from the beginning, you can start reading in the middle, it doesn't matter. And rather than trying to read the whole book like we normally do, just set a clock for yourself. Do you want to spend 15 minutes with this book? Do you want to spend a half an hour with this book? Read until your time is up and then close it with no intention of ever coming back to finish that book. Give yourself that permission. Close the book, put it back on the shelf or in that special rack they want you to use, and walk away. You've broadened your experience, and sure, you'll never be able to reference that book again, but that's okay because that wasn't the point. We're not trying to build an arsenal here. We're not trying to solve any particular problem with your writing. We're just trying to become more widely read. We're just trying to make that well deeper so that when you need to pull from it, there's sweet water there. So for all the techniques that I could give you about how to come up with story ideas, it all boils down to this. You can only draw from what you have. There are certainly techniques that will help you, like what-if statements is a great one that I love to use myself, and that will be helpful. But if you haven't filled the well, if you haven't exposed yourself to materials beyond what you typically crave and like, you're not gonna have very much to pull from. So go out there, be curious just to be curious. Learn about science, learn how the government works, learn about the environment, learn about French economics, learn about Chinese philosophy. Whatever it is, just begin to be a discerning consumer of the wonderful world that God has created around you. And that is the source of great ideas. Come on, there's more secrets in here.